So we're on our way to a veterinarian with a goat. I don't think anything's really bad wrong with him, but our weather has been acting kind of listless and like he just kind of hunches over or whatever. He's back there somewhere laying down. But like a month ago, a guy came by and asked to buy all of our chickens, and Ricky met with him outside and said, no, they're not for sale. And he left, and then he came back today and said that he wanted to buy my chickens, and I said no, I'm keeping my chickens because that's one of the reasons we moved here, was to do that. And so he said that my neighbor sold him his chickens for $168 each, which with as many chickens as we have, if we took that, it would be $10,500, but I would never be able to have chickens here again. So that's not worth it to me. So I said, no, I'm not going to sell my chickens. And he said, well, would you consider selling me your house? And I was like, whoa. And I kind of already thought maybe he might propose that to me last time he came. So I pretty much had an answer right away. I said, I'm going to have to think about that. And so I immediately called my realtor, and she's like, well, are you willing to sell? And I'm like, only for, like twice what I paid for it. And she's like, oh no. She's like, you need to ask 4 times as much. And so she's told me to give him, he said he's going to be back in a week, and she told me to give him one of her business cards, and she will represent me so I don't have to deal with him on my own, which will really take a lot of stress off my back, because when I asked him for a card, he said he didn't have one, and I immediately took it to Facebook to get a judge from all my friends, and they were like, stand up to the corporation. And I haven't even been here a year. I love my property, but I love my animals more, and I'm more concerned with keeping my animals than I am this crappy old house and this land. And we started shopping around, and if she were able to get 4 times what we paid for this, we'd get a lot more and a lot better land with more of what we wanted. So right now, it's still just in the thinking phase, but I feel like if it does come down to selling it, that even with all the work that I did last year, building everything up and fixing everything, and it's practice. And I'm a firm believer in God, and I believe that God puts things in your life to teach you, and I'm kind of feeling like that's what's happening right now. Like, before we moved, I kept asking Ricky, are you absolutely positive that we can do this? And he said, yes, yes, yes. And so here we are doing it. And I mean, I had some failures and stuff, and I've gotten to know my land a lot better, and I'm like, man, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, and all the things that I wanted before we moved that we couldn't have because we were kind of pressed for time. We had to have a place to live, and so we just picked one, and the house was way worse than we thought it was and stuff. So I'm trying to think of this as like a blessing rather than a curse, even though I'm hardcore against big money and these evil corporations and whatnot. Sometimes, I don't know, I just feel like it'd be better to just give in this time. My realtor said that these kinds of chicken factories are all over this area, so it would just be another one packed full of chickens that are suffering, which breaks my heart, but I've got to think about me and my animals too. So Right now I'm kind of, instead of stand and fight, I'm in flight mode.
If we can better our situation at a different location.
And if we can have a better situation at a different location with more of the resources like water and stuff that we need, that'd work out better in the long term. For instance, if the world were to go nuts tomorrow, I would have to walk to my neighbor and try to barter with him to get water out of his creek. And that, you know, eventually I'd run out of stuff unless I were able to keep up with whatever. But we found a house first, right off the bat, when we just were considering the idea, that was twice what we paid for our property now, but had a creek and had twice as many acres, tons of trees, more than we could ever use in our entire life. And that's like, to me, that's like God saying, hey, okay, I've taught you what you need to know, so look here, and this has more of what you need, and you can do better with that. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just recording things as they happen, so I have it documented.